bear cans. I don't know anyone who enjoys carrying one. They're heavy, they're bulky, they take up way too much real estate in your backpack. Now, sometimes you have to carry one. Sometimes there's a regulation in place in a certain wilderness area and you just have to carry a bear can. I have recently made the decision to carry mine anytime I know I'm in an area where there's a significant bear population, whether it's required or not. And I hope by the end of this video, you will make that same decision. So one of the main reasons I made this decision is very recently the Desolation Wilderness finally made it a requirement that you have to carry a bear can within its boundaries. Now, I had long thought it was already a requirement and have just carried mine for years anytime I've gone into Desolation. But it is now an official rule. You have to carry your bear can. The reason that they made this new rule is twofold. One, there are a lot of people who either don't know how or just flat out refuse to do a proper bear hang. And the bears have discovered food piñatas, and they are loving them. Another reason they made this decision is a select group of very, very smart bears have figured out how to take down even a properly hung bear bag. So they've learned that you don't look for the food piñata, you look for the string holding the piñata up. There's been at least 2 documented cases of bears running off with bear hangs that were done properly. So the hiker did everything they were supposed to do, they hung it properly, and the bears still got their food. So that was part of the reason where I decided, you know, I'm just going to carry it. I'm just going to carry it on every trip. And I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people. And before anybody gets upset and gets all keyboard warrior-y in my comment section, let me clarify a few things. I'm not talking about carrying a bear can every single time you go out into the wilderness. There are places that I hike. Eastern Nevada is a great example where it just doesn't make sense to carry the can because there aren't any bears, or there at least aren't enough bears to where we're having human and bear interactions on a regular basis. All I'm talking about here is when we are hiking in areas that we know there's a significant bear population and we know that there's an above average amount of human and bear interaction. Another factor in my making this decision is that I very often hike in high elevation areas. I very often hike above the tree line, and finding a spot to do a proper bear hang can be difficult to impossible. And if I'm being really honest, after a long day of hiking, the last thing I want to do is stumble around the woods at dusk looking for that perfect tree that has a branch that's just the right height off the ground and just the right distance from the tree trunk and just the right distance from my campsite, but also like strong enough to hold my food bag, but flimsy enough that the bear can't climb out on it. I just don't want to do it anymore. I've done it for years, and I have found, even with the extra weight and the other inconveniences of a bear can, I just prefer to carry the can. I came to this decision based largely on trying to reduce my impact in these wild spaces. Bears who have consistent negative interactions with human beings, bears who are getting food all the time, bears who view human beings as a food source are all too often euthanized. And the idea that a decision I make could impact the life of such a beautiful creature is just too much to bear. And if carrying a bear can, if carrying that extra 3 pounds of weight can prevent such a tragic end to such a beautiful creature, then I will carry one every single time without complaint. So the can that I have with me on this trip that I'm currently using as a chair is the BV 450. I also own a BV 500. The 450 is perfect for 1 to 2 nights. You could even push it to 3 nights if you had to. And the 500 is more suitable for like week-long adventures. The reason I have 2 cans, I bought the 500 originally to through hike the Tahoe Rim Trail. And then as I got more and more into backpacking, I just decided, I don't want to carry this huge can and have it be half full. I'm just going to get a smaller can for these shorter trips. In the wake of Desolation Wilderness requiring bear cans, I saw a lot of arguments online. And if I'm being really honest, I agreed with a lot of the people who were angry about this being a requirement. It is in part due to the irresponsibility of others that some of us who are more responsible have to now carry a bear can. I agree with that. I do think at times it might feel a bit like a punishment. Like, I know how to do a proper bear hang, and I do very often proper bear hangs. Now, in a lot of those spaces where I used to hang, I have to carry a can, and it does feel a bit like a punishment. It does feel a bit like I'm paying a price for other people's irresponsibility. That said, I don't mind paying that price. If it means a better experience, if it means less human-to-bear interactions, if it means fewer bears being euthanized, I will carry this thing all over the backcountry. Some of the other arguments that I heard, I felt were a little bit selfish. Packway, the inconvenience of the can, things like that. A lot of modern ultralight backpacks won't accommodate a can on the inside. For the Lost Coast trip, the bear can was a requirement, and I ended up having to carry it up on top of my lid because it wouldn't fit inside. The BV450 does fit inside of my Waymark pack. The 500 would not, and I needed the 500 for that trip so that I had enough food for that trip. But honestly, weighing a minor inconvenience on my part due to the life of one of these amazing and beautiful creatures, there's no contest. I'm going to inconvenience myself, and I truly hope that anyone watching this video is willing to do so as well. So let's talk some tips and tricks to make carrying a bear can suck less. One of my biggest gripes with carrying a bear can is you can't always balance your pack properly. The bear can is typically the heaviest thing in your pack. You want to put that in a place where it's not going to throw your pack weight off, where it's not going to throw your center of balance off, and you can't always do that with this giant plastic jug. So one of the things that I have learned to do, especially on longer trips, is during the day while I'm hiking, my food will be in my food bag, something like this that I got from Hilltop Packs. It's super lightweight, waterproof material, doesn't take up a lot of space in the pack, doesn't add a bunch of weight to your pack. So during the day, my food lives in that bag, and I can put it anywhere in my pack that makes sense. The bear can is then filled with lighter stuff. My stove will go in there, my utensils, sometimes my poop kit, clothing, even if I have to, and then I can wiggle that around and put it, now that it's a little bit lighter, I can put it somewhere else in the pack that makes a little bit more sense. And then I can still have a nicely balanced pack. I can still have a comfortable time on the trail, even with the inconvenience of carrying the bear can. I know this can be kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people. I've read a lot of really horrible comments online. I've read a lot of just silly arguments against the bear can. But to me, there is no argument strong enough. There is no argument anyone could make that would make me say, well, that's worth the life of one bear. You can't come up with anything that's going to change my mind on that subject. There's no amount of inconvenience. There is no amount of extra pack weight that's going to make me go, that's worth the life of a bear. I do want to hear your opinion on this subject. I want to have a thoughtful and civil discussion on this subject. Now, if you are willing to have a civil discussion about this and try to change my mind, if you land on the side of I don't ever want to carry a bear can, I still want to hear from you. It just needs to be a civil conversation. If you agree with me, I want to hear from you as well. If you have some kind of a different point of view somewhere in the middle, let's have a discussion about it. But where I stand right now is anytime I'm hiking in an area where I know there's a significant bear population and I know that there has been human and bear interaction, I'm carrying a can, whether the governing body tells me I need to or not. So let's have a good conversation about it in the comments. I do want to hear from you, and we will talk again soon.